We're not good.
And fun.
Scott's looking for it.
Now it's going to go. All right, everyone's good.
Maybe. I think so.
Yes. Hey, you even brought your boxes.
Good evening, everyone. I'm going to call this meeting to order. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I need a motion to approve the agenda for the business meeting of January 9th, 2023.
Okay, Eric and Jim, thank you.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor? Aye. We have several accolades because we always like celebrating our students. So the first one I'm going to is turn it over to Kendall Fritz, and who is going to talk about the International Baccalaureate.
It's been a while to get the new setup for me.
Press the button and a little blue light.
Got it.
Yes.
All right. Thank you for having me. I am excited to be here tonight to represent GCS as the IB coordinator to express our pride in Cheyenne Bogus. Cheyenne was the only student in the class of 2022 who attempted and completed. She fulfilled the requirements for the full International Baccalaureate diploma. So that is wonderful news, and what I was very lucky because as the IB coordinator, I get to work very closely with these students, especially those who attempt the full diploma. And I have to say that what I was most impressed by with Cheyenne was her ability to time manage and serve her community. We have someone here who chose to take on the rigorous coursework, really the most rigorous program that we have to offer here. But she did so as president of her class, as captain of the soccer team, as a member of student council, as a member of the National Honor Society, and really just someone who was doing everything. I mean, she was planning the prom during a pandemic. She really stepped up to be just an incredible friend and classmate to her students, to her fellow students at a time where looking back, they're gonna realize they needed it the most. So I just admire her so much for that. Oh, and she was also the salutatorian of her class, you know, that too. So Cheyenne graduated from GCS just this past June and went on to attend Kaplan International College of London. She had a wonderful experience there. We probably could have talked about it all night. And will continue her post-secondary studies at Pace University. So I know I speak for the entire team of IB teachers and all of your former teachers here at Greenville when we say that we are proud of you and have no doubt that you will be successful in all of your current studies. And going off script here, her parents are here all the way from Tennessee. They had moved to Tennessee, and I didn't realize that they would be driving up here to see her receive her diploma tonight. I hope I did okay, no pressure. And her grandparents are here from Broad Albin, and her two sisters are here via FaceTime, and her two wonderful friends are here watching her receive the diploma as well. So I think all of that speaks to just the incredible person that Cheyenne is, and we are so proud of her. So Cheyenne, please come up and receive your IB diploma.
Cheyenne, was there anything you wanted to share with us?
What would you like to hear? I told her she might get questions. What would you like to hear?
When you went off to London, so did you feel prepared for studying abroad?
Very much so. So leading up to studying abroad in London, we had Zoom meetings with the entire cohort and my professors that would be teaching me over there. So we went over culture shock and what would it be like and how to budget and everything while living over there. So I felt very prepared, and I had a very good support system from my parents and my sisters. So I felt very prepared and very supported while going over there.
Well, we applaud you for not only challenging yourself, but then I think extending beyond sometimes our comfort zone and really going out there. I don't know. So thank you very, very much. Anyone else have anything they'd like to share?
I would just like to say, Cheyenne, we are so proud of you and how you have represented Greenville Central School District. You are truly a shining star. I think, as Ms. Fritz indicated, to do all that you've done during this time, it's unprecedented. And you know, I appreciate you, and I will continue to support the IB program and use you as our model student for that program, because again, it is a huge commitment, and I wish you nothing but the best, and don't forget us when you get big and famous. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Congratulations. So Ms. Fritz reeled off a really impressive amount of stuff in a very short amount of time. You know, clearly you accomplished a lot. That's really great. And it's neat that you went abroad in your first semester. You're very cool. Can I ask, do you know what you want to study at Pace?
So I knew what I wanted to study from I was like a sophomore, and I chose forensic science. It like encompasses all of the sciences. I didn't just want to stick to one science major, so I chose forensics, and I also wanted to try to do some real work in the world with the justice program. So.
That's great, really cool. Well, good luck.
Thank you.
And congratulations.
And thank you to the parents for coming. I don't want to ask how long the drive was, but at least it wasn't snowing.
Exactly. We wouldn't have missed it for the world. She's worked very hard on this.
It's a lot of work, and it's a great accomplishment. So kudos to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we also have an accolade for Melodies of Christmas. And let me just give a little bit of background about Melodies of Christmas. This is from Peter Molino and John Meredith, who unfortunately were not able to be here. On December 15th through the 18th, 5 Greenville students performed in the annual Melodies of Christmas concert at Proctor's Theater. Each year, this televised event, on the 24th and 25th, just in case you missed it on the 24th, raises money for the Children's Hospital at Albany Medical Center. These students were chosen for the ensemble after a very competitive audition process involving students from over 75 public and private schools throughout eastern New York, western Massachusetts, and southern Vermont. So this is truly an accomplishment to be able to participate. We have 5 students that participated. Clara DeLong, Anthony Zhang performed in the symphony orchestra. We had Carmela Bucci, Scarlett Coons, and Gigi Stewart, who sang in the chorus. Or I think it's a chorale, and I had to look up, like, what is chorale? But anyways, they're amazing singers. These students have used their musical skills to perform at an exceptionally high level in order to benefit the community and those in need. We're very proud of each and every one of you. See, eye contact, this is good. And congratulations to the outstanding musicians and to the family members on your fantastic performance. So we would just like to thank you, give you an accolade. Do we have from our heart? Thank you. Is there anything you would like to share, or what did anyone faint? Every year there is one person who faints. My daughter was it one year.
Yeah, no, okay,
Yeah. So thank you very much. And now I'm going to turn it, Mike, was there anything you wanted to?
Again, I'm continue to be amazed by the breadth of the talents of our Greenville school students. And you guys continue to represent yourselves, your families, and us as a school community very well. And we appreciate the time and effort that it goes into these events. And I know that that's a very competitive group. It's taking from all over the capital region, very large schools with far more students than we have, and for us to have 5 students who are proudly representing Greenville. We appreciate your efforts and bringing a little joy and giving back to our community. So thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. You good job. Good job.
And now I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Bennett, who is going to talk about another good deed.
And again, I think that we will often talk about different things here at the board level and with our community about you know, the neat things, some of the hard things that we have to deal with. But we can never forget, and that's why I really love what Greenville does with recognizing our students and giving accolades. And this next one is really pretty outstanding. We had a number of students who, we haven't had a lot of snow, but in our snowstorm in December, students who we got word of this just on a Facebook post saying, I don't know who it was, but thank you from a community member for these students who shoveled snow and shoveled the community out at the Oak Hill elderly community area. So Finn Kosich, Ben Reinhardt, Jessica Lamonda, and Thomas Bauman, just kindness of their hearts, their own initiative, not looking to seek any pats on the back or anything for doing the work that they do. But again, it's a reflection of what they're learning here at school at Greenville. We sometimes forget that we are not just teaching curriculum, we are teaching how to be good community members and giving back to their community. And sometimes that gets lost. So whenever we get the opportunity to recognize these students and thank them for their selflessness, I think we really need to. And again, not looking for anything, and these students just step forward. So we wanted to recognize them at the board level and from a school district for thanking them. And again, that comes from the board, comes from our faculty and staff, and stressing those important things. So thank you to those students.
I'm going to move us on to the open forum. So the 30-minute open forum is the time the board sets aside to hear in-person comments from the public. Comments may also be emailed in advance of the meeting prior to 4 p.m. on the date of the meeting, and state in the email if you would like your correspondence read out loud to Daphne Pearson, District Clerk at pearsond@greenvillecsd.org. This is an opportunity for residents to voice general concerns and compliments about items on the agenda. However, this is not the time to register complaints about specific individuals or about items that should be addressed confidentially through the proper channel. All comments shall be addressed to the district clerk and shall be limited to no more than 5 minutes per Board Policy 2180. Please note that members of the board may not be able to directly respond to citizens' concerns during the public open forum. Is there anyone that would like to speak? Did we receive any emails?
No.
No, okay. Then I'm going to move us on to the presentations and our discussion. So the first one is going to be the budget review and the rollover budget, and Janet Messerman, our business official, will be presenting that. So drum roll, please, turn it over. Thank you, Janet.
Thank you. I'm just waiting for the screen to brighten up so everybody can see what I'm talking about. I think it's there. So today I'm presenting the rollover budget. We have a presentation, and we also have a booklet that everybody has received. On page 1, it explains everything about a rollover budget, how the budget all starts to get put together. We start with this rollover budget where we put together a draft based on the assumption of all programming and staffing levels will stay exactly as they currently are. Then we look at the previous budget and increase the expenditures that we know increase every year. For example, salaries, related costs based on employment contracts, increases to BOCES contractual costs, health insurance increases, and general insurance increases and retirement rates. We use the actual costs when we can or make projections based on past history. For the purpose of this rollover budget, we have increased the BOCES cost by an estimated of 3%. Projected salaries are based on actual employee contracts. For employee benefits, we know that Social Security and Medicare have not changed. It is 7.65% of the gross wages. We are using ERS, Employees Retirement System, and TRS, Teachers Retirement System rates that have been estimated by each retirement system. Health insurance costs we estimated to increase by 10%. This will be revised to actual costs when we know them around February or March. February, they'll give us a better percentage, and then in March, they'll give us our actuals. Our existing debt service payments, we know the actual amounts for the 23-24 school year. Later on in this in the board agenda, Mary and Mike will be talking about 2 vans that we may have to purchase out of the regular bus replacement cycle. So if we do go into that, then we'll have another bond issuance for 2 more vans, which is not in the rollover budget because I'm not sure which way we're going. On the revenue side, the large factor will be our state aid projections for the 23-24 school year and the tax cap calculation. We anticipate that we will begin to receive estimated state aid projections from the governor in January. As of right now, we haven't received anything. I think her State of the Union is tomorrow. So hopefully after that we'll have something. As you know, April 1st is the deadline to adopt the state budget. At that point, we will make the necessary changes to our projections. So according to the slides, we will begin with our 21-22 budget to the 22-23 budget. So the 21-22 budget, there was an increase of $633,152, or 1.96% increase from the previous year. Our tax levy increased by $197,359, or 1.15%. From 22-23 budget, there was an increase of $811,000 to $811,275, or 2.47% increase from the previous year. Our tax levy increased by $390,577, or 2.25% from the previous year. The rollover budget reflects an increase of $1,075,326, or 3.19% increase from this school year. Most of that is from health insurance, with the estimate of 10% for health insurance.
Excuse me, Janet? Sorry, when you say most is the 10% increase in health insurance in terms of dollars, how much is that?
We're going to, so there's 40, 80.
If you don't have it handy, you can follow up later.
Okay.
Thanks.
So in the administrative component, we are seeing a 4.6% increase. The administrative component is the administration of the school, clerical staff, school board costs, central data processing, BOCES admin costs, research, planning, and evaluation. The capital. Yeah.
Sorry, a quick question before we move on. What is regular school supervision in the administrative component?
That is, so we have principals, but the principals are attached to buildings. We have some principals that are not attached to a building and they're more administrative than a building.
Okay. Thanks.
There is, in the capital component, a decrease of 6.17%. This is the maintenance and custodial staff, debt service, utilities, facility costs, service contracts, maintenance and repairs. So most of the decrease you will see is in the debt service. We had one bond that got paid off. And also the intra-fund transfer to capital. Last year we had $420,000 for the dust collector. Our fiscal advisors have told me to put in $235,000 in there to keep things, to the local share of tax levy the same level as previous years. That might change when we discuss the vans, the two replacement of the school vans. The program component, there is a 5.8% increase. This is the salaries and benefits of all teachers, staff delivering pupil services like health, guidance, library, and athletics. This also includes textbook, instructional materials, equipment, extracurricular student activities, BOCES program costs, transportation, and contract transportation. And then we have our reminder of our budget discussion dates. So the next time we'll come together will be for February 27th, where we will be a very in-depth program budget. Right now I'm collecting everybody's needs and wants to see what we can all fit into our next budget discussions. So then we will, all of us will be talking to you then. Anybody have any questions? Yes, Eric.
Along with Jay's question for the amount, I would like to know what the difference is in terms of the health insurance between last budget and this budget. I know we're projecting a 10% increase, but what was it the year before?
The year before, it was 5.
It was 5, so it's a big step.
Yes, yes, but there's a lot of changes with the health insurance now. You know, the telemarketing happened back then, so health insurance costs weren't as high as they are right now. Everybody's going back to in-person doctors, and then there's more billing for health insurance and prescription plans.
Excuse me, can't talk tonight. Aside from the health insurance, where in the budget, in the rollover budget, are you seeing inflationary increases, larger increases due to inflation? Throughout everything, or
throughout everything, supplies, fuel oil, textbooks, everything, electricity, everything is going up. We had the electric bid the other day where last month you guys had to approve us to say yes to the electric bid, and we said no because it was triple in cost of what we're paying now. So we told them that we'll wait another 2 months and then we'll try again, because it was a lot of money.
I know this is off topic because it's the electric bid. Does that electric bid also follow the price of gas at the time, natural gas?
That I don't know.
Okay, so with prices, with fuel oil and gases coming down, maybe.
Coming down, that's why we all thought we'll wait 2 months, because then we're coming out of the winter months and hopefully things get better.
And Eric, knowing nothing about the bidders, I think you would be right. That's what you'd expect, is that the gas price, the electricity price would follow the gas.
Yep.
So one question that I have is that we're seeing inflation, but yet revenues are still capped according to the governor at 2%. Is that correct?
But as you can see, we can go above 2%. It all depends on the actual calculation, the whole calculation that we have to do. Because last year we were at 2.25.
Right, just the 2% rule of thumb.
Yes.
Right, for that, okay.
And I don't remember when will you have an initial calculation of what the tax levy actually is, what that 2% limit actually translates to?
Probably in March.
March, okay.
Any other questions? Okay, then, all right, thank you, Janet.
You're welcome.
Then I'm going to move us on to the action items then. And before we do, just please note all the different dates of the budget meetings. They are, just to refresh everyone's memory, we have February 27th, which is when we're going to be doing the program component. We have March 6th, when we will be discussing the capital component, administration, and revenue. And we have April 17th, when we would have a budget discussion number 4, and tentatively adopt a budget at that point. And a lot is obviously contingent upon the budget passing from the governor and everything else. But right now, those are the key dates. Then with it culminating on May 2nd with the annual budget hearing, and then the vote on May 16th. Okay, so now I'm going to move us on to the action items. I need a motion to approve the minutes from the meeting of December 12th, 2022.
I have Eric and Angela.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I need a motion to approve the finance reports for the month ending December 31st, 2022.
Eric, need a second? Angela, thank you.
Any discussion?
Yeah.
Dave, go ahead.
Chad, in one of your tabs, isn't the status of the reserve budgets normally noted here, or stated another way, where would I find the status of our reserve funds?
They were in the December budget document. Back in the December board meeting.
Mm-hmm. Then I'll look there.
I can pull it up and email it to you.
Okay.
Okay?
Yep.
Any other questions? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I need a motion to accept the Committee on Special Education recommendations.
Dave and Eric, thank you.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any motion to approve the personnel agenda?
Eric, Angela,
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I need a motion to approve the Health and Welfare Services contract between Greenville Central School District and Saugerty Central School District.
Eric, need a second? Dave, thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. I need a motion to award the bid to RMV Mechanical Inc. in the amount of $294,000 and Still Sing Electrical Inc. in the amount of $57,467 for work at the middle school, high school, work on the middle school, high school dust collector replacement project.
Eric, second, Jay, thank you.
Any discussion? Go ahead, Jim.
Since we communicated or talked last, I don't think the engineer or the architect came back with a couple the answers that when we met with them, the pipe size, the pipe type, the details that we were communicating. Is this just a general overview amount, or is this a detailed held fast bid? Because there were still a lot of questions we were communicating with at the time, as far as what type of drives and different things. If it went out for bid, was it apples to apples across the different contractors on what they were putting in?
Well, then, I would assume that if it's going out for bid, then, you get this bolt and that you're paying for it this bolt. So it's usually pretty specific.
Correct.
Okay.
They all get the same design, the same pipe. Everything is the same for everybody to bid on.
Okay.
And then the architects look at what the bid results are from each person, and then they make sure that whatever's in their bid document is what we asked for.
Were there specific questions that you had?
There was many, when I was communicating with them at the time, when we met with them in the room, but no answers. I was never communicated to as far as any answers to the questions that we proposed, so I just, so I'll probably just remove myself from this.
The bids are, go ahead, Mike.
If you want to get us those the specific questions you were asking, I'm sure we can get us CI to pull the specs and let you know what was put in.
Okay, thank you.
Dave?
I would suggest that, since Jim has a critical amount of knowledge on this subject and took the time to meet with them, I would suggest that he at least get a look at the specifications of the bid. I sense that my colleague is not happy since he took the time to investigate this and there was no response given to him.
I understand, want to do what's necessary. They definitely need an upgrade of the dust collector. I understand that. There was definite questions in the room there. I just, I don't want to bottleneck things. I just, would like to know, obviously, since it's a background that I have, make sure we're moving forward. At the time, the communication with the engineer, there was only a 4% swing as far as it had a flexibility of 4% at the time, and when we're putting in the system, 4% is not that much of a leeway on changes to a system. So we communicated then, even then, they were looking to relocate where the pipes were originally going to be placed, that they would be put over towards the wall. And, it was just a very rough draft. I just haven't seen anything since then. So.
We'll get you that information.
Thank you.
So then the question is, do we want to award the bid, or do we want to make a motion to table it until, when's our next meeting? Do we? What is the sentiment?
February 13th, I think.
Do we have any budget meetings? Because we could.
No, we don't have any.
No, but actually on the 21st, it has to be a public meeting because it's data. So would that give us time to then have your questions answered, and then we could approve it then? But if people agree with that, I need a motion to do that.
Before deciding on that, if we were to wait until the 21st, would that have any impact on the work? Is today critical? Is today critical to get the work done by a certain time?
Yeah, I think what we've realized, obviously, is that we've had a lot of issues with shipping and getting things together, and this was a time-sensitive project to make sure that we can get those things in for the summer, to make sure that it hits that deadline so we can have that work done over the summer. So it's certainly something that we would want to do sooner rather than later, because every day or week we put off getting the orders in is putting us behind the 8 ball to have it ready for this summer. And I can't predict what the supply chain is going to look like. I don't think anybody really can at this point. So.
What do people want to do?
My main concern is I believe we can go forward, but with the design with only a 4% leeway, if that's going to bottleneck or choke to where you have to redesign later, because we know in 5 to 10 years machines will change, the demands, what are out there, on what our students are doing, will change to where it'll be a different type of machine or what's needed out there. I just wouldn't like to see us redo the bulk of the work. You know, if we have some front-end flexibility, I think that will work. I remember what the engineer said, and it was 4% is very, very low, and for us. So that definitely concerned me. Now maybe the end design is more than that. I just haven't seen. That was what was quoted to me at the time.
So we're talking about possibly a 2-week delay to decide, you know, with the question of will that ultimately matter, which we don't know. But, you know, I understand, you know, I appreciate that you're looking at this, and also understand the concern about being careful with our due diligence at the front end to make sure that we make the right choice overall. I would support a 2-week delay so you can get the information and look at it. I'm a little hesitant to just jump up and make the motion because I don't have a good feel for, I guess, like I don't understand the engineering perspective that you're looking at it from, and you know what the kind of your thoughts on the process versus, you know, what the risk of if we wait 2 weeks, will that actually matter with getting the equipment in time? It might not. And I don't say that to like put it on you, but just trying to continue the discussion here.
Well, I can make myself flexible this week if we can try to get some answers, and I'll put a word out. If the stuff that's time sensitive, you know, in order to order to make sure we have it and we move forward, is not the item that, you know, if I can get the answers, or I'm not saying just me, I just want to feel better about the design of the project. I wasn't too comfortable with the direction it was going last time. It was going okay, but there was a lot of questions, and then it seemed I didn't get any answers that we had proposed at that time. So if I can get them this week, I'll make myself flexible to read everything so we don't have to wait 2 weeks. That works.
We still have to wait because we would have to approve the awarding the bid for that. So, but I think that an important element from my perspective is, like you said, with the design, just making sure that later on down the road, we don't trip ourselves up. So if it means a week or two delay, then I would be, personally, as one member, would be comfortable with it, but ultimately, it's what everyone decides. So you could make a motion yourself if you want to.
Then, for me, I make a motion that we, as a school board, get some more information prior to approval of going up to award the bids, so we could feel more comfortable what the project is.
Okay, so do I have a second for that?
I'm sorry, Dave. I would second it by the procedural question, since I think we already have the original motion. Did we have a second for the original motion?
Yeah,
There was discussion.
Yeah, I have
right?
Eric and Jay.
So
We're in discussion, right?
We're in
Right.
discussion.
So it's just a procedural question of, are we making a motion, are we voting against the original motion? Are we modifying the original
I
motion?
think we're tabling.
We could do either.
Tabling it? We're just tabling it?
I think we have to
We
table
could
the
table it.
original
Okay.
motion.
So I'll second the procedurally correct motion that Jim advanced. Sorry, Dave, go ahead.
I was going to second it only for discussion purposes, but I say to what end are we going to entertain Jim's motion, because we're here to accept a bid that is done under certain specifications. If Jim comes out with a finding that everything is fine with him, then we can go ahead and accept this bid and proceed. But if Jim has substantial issues, and I hope that he will bring them to our attention, then what? We go back through the bidding process, which I don't care about. I mean, to me, this is a lot of money. It needs to be done right. Time means, time versus money is getting to be a real issue. But I think we need to be aware of to what end are we having this motion. Are we going to accept this bid? Regardless of what Jim finds? Or are we going to go back out to bid? I guess if we table it, at least it gives Jim time to do some discovery.
Yeah, I personally think that's important for two reasons. One, it's a lot of money. We want to get the project right the first time. You know, more likely than not, it is right the first time now. However, Jim had concerns. He has expertise here. You know, we've had large projects before where board members with expertise and subject matter have been involved, and I think their input either was helpful, or if it had been more opportunity for it, it would have helped the project also. So I mean, I think, long-winded way of saying, I think 2 weeks here to get a little more information and get Jim an answer to those questions is worthwhile.
Yes.
Kind of honestly, a secondary concern for me is, again, given that Jim got involved because he has that expertise, like that background, and asked questions, I'm concerned that I don't want to specifically call out anyone individually, because I don't know who was supposed to have gotten him the information, like who you were talking to was supposed to follow up. But I think that if a board member is involved in something like this and asking for information, there should be follow-up with the information provided in enough time for it to be considered before we do something. So I think a secondary reason for me to wait an extra 2 weeks to kind of hopefully complete that process, if that's what it is also worthwhile for that reason. Kind of as an aside, well,
Rich does have the specs. He's going to his office now to get them. So that way we'll have them. You can take a look at them later.
Perfect. All right, can I get my 2 cents in?
You get your 2 cents.
So to Dave's point, we had this one motion to award a bid. So I assume that our engineers and architects did their job. So I do appreciate that Jim did review stuff and was looking for answers. And I don't mind tabling it for 2 weeks. But the consequences, if Jim decides that he doesn't like what he's got, is either a rebid or change orders. And the price tag is not going to go down. So just be aware. We got something that was proposed that's going to work. If we change it, it's going to go up.
I would agree with that, and so I'm going to give my personal opinion, which is that I agree with tabling it for 2 weeks. I think that to better understand the issues and parameters, and then based on that, then I would better be able to assess it. But I don't want to be in a situation where 5 years down or 2 years down the road, then we're spending a significant amount of money to undo something because there's a fabulous machine that that, I don't know, is great for CTE, but we can't take advantage of it. So I feel like I don't want to be put into a corner that would then preclude us. So I'm kind of half agreeing with you, Eric. I understand that the prices are not going to go down. I just want to make sure that they also don't increase. So long-winded way of saying I don't necessarily have an answer, but I'm comfortable for tabling it for 2 weeks. But that's my opinion.
What date are we tabling it to? Just
The 21st.
So that's really only a week. Oh, I guess it's 2 weeks. This week, next week.
comfortable with tabling it.
Saturday.
Angela?
I'm comfortable with tabling it for 2 weeks.
Right, so
Good
Simon?
question.
Right, so that's the discussion. So now we have a motion on the table to basically table the awarding of the bid for 2 weeks until the 21st. That is what we are voting on, correct? Is that everyone's understanding? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Is there anything else we need to do then for, sorry, I lost my place, procedurally
Thank you, Jim.
for that? All right, I think,
I
are
think
we?
we're okay.
We're good, okay, all right. Then, I'm going to move us to 6.7. I need a motion to approve the transportation agreement between Greenville Central School District and Ronald Lukes, I'm not pronouncing that correctly, Locks, for providing transportation to and from the temporary residents.
Eric and Jay?
Any discussion?
Just like to have this explained, Mike. If you can
So we have a family who are in Foster. Oh, so they're in a temporary residence, and because they are in a temporary residence, we are obligated to bus students. So because we are in a situation where our transportation department is running very thin right now, we had to have a contract to make sure that we are able to, and the parents or the foster family agreed to this as a viable solution.
It's the father, not the foster.
The father is going to transport, because they're.
Do we get aid on that?
Yes.
You just flinched, Dave.
When it's a parent that drives the student, when it's a parent that drives the student, yes. We just have, bus driving drivers.
And by law, we are obligated to transport.
Right, I get that.
We're hoping it's not for the rest of the school year.
The word contract indicates to me that we've had legal advice with this.
This is not the first family that we've contracted with in order to transport their students. So yes, we have had, this is something that we can do legally.
Any more discussion? All in favor? Aye. Okay, so now for discussion points, let's see, the first one, recording of the budget meetings, and I'm listed. So after much discussion, the budget meetings will be recorded live and stored on YouTube for the public to view. So those 3 meetings that we discussed, we have a schedule, and we just feel that for transparency purposes, then this would allow people to view it if they cannot participate. So that, I just wanted to let people be aware of that.
Thank you.
Welcome. Any thoughts?
Yeah, but also thank you for making us aware of it, and I think it's the right decision, so I'm glad that we could do it.
I agree also.
Now I'm going to turn it over to Mike for the capital project update.
All right, so this is something that will probably be on our discussion for the next 3 years. We'll have a session on an update for capital project. We are very early on in this phase. What we're at right now is on January 18th and on January 24th, we will begin our focus groups with our faculty in regards to those areas that are going to see the biggest, feel the biggest impact, whether that's at Ellis or if it's at the art folks up at the high school and middle school, high school, as well as at Ellis, and our PE folks are more of a district-wide impact. So we begin those where we'll have Matt and Joanne from SEI come in and meet for about an hour and a half with teacher groups in those areas, whether it's by grade level, by department, and really begin to really brainstorm ideas on what they're looking for. This is the very initial stages, so it is really no decisions are being made at this point. It's really an opportunity for the architects and the administration to hear a little bit about what some of the thoughts are from our faculty. Once we go through this round of focus groups, we will kind of take that information with SEI and kind of use it with those rooms that are currently been done, see what we want to replicate, things we want to change based off those 2 rooms that we've done already, and kind of start to formulate a plan, because this will really then get to that point where we start to narrow the focus on what exactly the work will look like, so we have a better understanding of costs. Again, we want to get everybody's ideas, understanding that those ideas will have to filter down to a point where we can get the biggest bang for our buck. And so that's what this initial stage is really starting out as. So we're excited. It gives us an opportunity to start to hear from people. At the same time, we want to make sure that we let our community know that this process that they voted on, it's a long process, and that it started, and kind of give some updates from the district side of things to let folks know where we're at with the project. But get used to these updates.
Thank you. So now, why don't you keep going with the band purchases?
All right, well, we do have Mary here, so we're going to ask Mary to come on up. And I have mentioned this a little bit in our board updates, that we have got a couple of vans that are having some issues right now. And when Mary and Kel went to take a look at some of the issues and working with some of the folks that we traditionally deal with when buying these, we are kind of in a funny place right now. We're between the traditional chassis and the traditional buses and vans, and a lot of these companies starting to migrate over to electric. And so it's really, supply is in a day and age where supply is not great. It's getting worse because the manufacturers are really spending a lot of time trying to keep up with the demand, or the upcoming demand for electric buses. So Mary, if you want to talk a little bit about what you're seeing over at the garage with these.
So the last time that we, excuse me, the last time we received 2 vans, we were given notice that there was only a handful of chassis left at the establishment we bought from. So he kind of said, hey, do you guys want to order right now? And of course we couldn't, because we're in a long-range replacement plan. Our next purchase is until the 24-25 school year, which we're supposed to be speccing out in the fall. So we kind of sat on it for a little while, and then he got back to us, and we reached out to him because we started getting nervous, because vans are very important for us. We use them for special needs during the year. We also use them in the summer, and we utilize all of them in the summer. So he said he had 2 chassis left that were available, and we received, a spec out on them. We received some invoicing material on how much they were going to cost, and he obviously gave us the paper and said, hey, get it signed. Let's do our consent right now before we have to, before somebody else takes them. So we reached out again last week, and he said that he actually did a pricing for another school district for one of those chassis. So we're all like, biting our nails, like, what are we going to do? We don't necessarily want to give up our vans that we have, because we reached out to a couple companies. So New York Bus Sales is where we received our vans last time, and they're wonderful. We normally use Matthews buses. We reached out to our representative there, Petra Stone. She is unable to receive any chassis. They are not able to order them. We are still waiting for buses that we were supposed to receive, large buses, in the summertime. So we just got word yesterday that 2 of them are actually almost done at the factory. So it's a year out on just replacing large buses. So again, vans are so important to us, and we wanted to try to get them before the next replacement cycle so that we were not out, because they really, most of the chassis are GM, Ford, Chevy are just not producing anymore, and if they are producing them, they're using them for trucks, not for necessarily for school districts anymore. So that's our dilemma, and that's why we're requesting to replace those two. We were supposed to replace two this replacement, or three this next replacement cycle. So he only has two, and we're like, let's grab them now before we don't have an opportunity to.
Plus, you said there's the two that are starting to deteriorate very quickly.
We use the vans a lot, so we've been having to send them out a lot for bodywork, panel replacements. You know, we live in New York, there's a lot of salt, and they do a lot of hours. So both of those vans are reaching their 100,000 limit right now.
What's the seating capacity on the smaller, like the vans?
Well, it depends on whether we get the single or the duals. So it can be 15 to 25 passengers.
The reason that I was asking, is there the possibility of using I guess not commercial, like the larger vans and then putting the names on them, so not necessarily a school bus, but something else?
I think you're talking about maybe Suburbans or something like that.
Right,
other
something
school
like,
districts
you know, the
use.
12-seaters.
The only thing that, well, one, the mechanics don't really like working on those. They're definitely a little bit more difficult. They're used to using the vans. The roll cage, there's no roll cages on a Suburban, so they're not as safe as using a van that comes from New York Bus Sales or Matthews. Seating capacity, obviously, you have much more safe traveling with the students in a van. And when we have attendance for IUPs, which is what we use a lot, there's no way to really interact with the students when the attendant is sitting over here or sitting in the front. You kind of have that car kind of mentality, and we kind of like to keep it up as a bus. So having a bus is much more secure. Again, the chassis, the way they're manufactured is for safety. So we haven't really researched Suburbans because it's not something that I don't think the school district would want to have for safety for the kids.
I guess where I was going is, if nothing is available, then it was at a backup, but it sounds like it might not even be.
It's been very difficult. Like I said, we've reached out to both of the district, you know, the companies that we always work with, and it's unbelievable. I mean, we got spec'd out from Petra from Matthews. She's like, we just can't get those, but we can give you, like, we have 177, which I like to call the 3/4 bus. But if a child has an IEP and is required to use a van, then we can't put them on that bus anyways. So she's not helpful in that capacity. She said she just can't get them. Like, they're just, it's unbelievable. I mean, their lines have been shut down so many times trying to receive those large buses that we've ordered. It has been, like, pushed back from receiving them in August to September to December to January to now February, and we're looking at only getting 2 of them. By the time we spec out on other large, she said it's at least a year and a half out. So we're just trying to be proactive in procuring what we can while it's there before it runs out.
And what Mary spec'd out was 2 vans for a capacity of 30 children. So it's a good
Total.
size.
30 total, or 30 each?
30 each van.
Okay.
What is the 100,000 mile limit?
100,000 miles on the bus. They're just starting to get to that, you know, where you get less money for your vehicle kind of thing. So once they get to, I mean, they've traveled a lot. They're on the roads a lot. So they're requiring more maintenance. You know, their bodies are starting to break down. Motors are running well, but we're worried, you know, that if we don't do this now, that we may not have that opportunity. And then again, what do we do?
What was the cost? for the 2 vans in respect?
One,
$195,736 for the 2.
so I'm a little confused. So would we be taking that would be for next year's budget, for this year's budget?
So that would be for the 23-24 budget, that we would have to take a loan out to purchase these 2 buses. They have the buses already made, they're ready to go. We just have to do a letter of intent stating that we intend to purchase these buses if it passes a bond vote in May. And then we could purchase them in July, and then we'll hold them for us. Whereas Mary's saying that last year, when we ordered all these buses, it takes them a very long time to get them to us.
And have we made the commitment for the buses from the last replacement cycle, from last year's? So we've ordered those buses.
We've got the vans, some of the big buses aren't here yet.
None of the big buses are here yet.
None of the big buses are here yet.
We haven't received any of them because the production line shut down. The parts are unavailable, the staffing because of COVID. I mean, there's so many factors in them getting them to us that it just keeps getting pushed back.
So help me understand the ask. We're being asked to produce a letter of intent that in our next budget, we will buy 2 vans. And they were already planned to be bought.
No, not by us. Somehow they must have them in stock.
No.
Okay.
In our normal bus cycle, are we buying 2 vans?
No,
No.
in our next bus cycle is 24-25 school year, and we're scheduled to buy 7 large buses and 3 vans.
So we would spec
So
them
we
out.
would pull that van order forward 1 year or 2 years?
Yeah, 2 vans would come in 23-24, and then 24-25 we'll still order 1 van. It's getting 2 vans a year earlier.
So the ask is to put a letter of intent out that we will get the vans a year early.
Yes, because they have them in stock. We don't have to wait for them to build it.
What color are they?
No, they have the chassis available, so we want to grab the chassis before somebody else puts their order in. That's our main goal right now.
Right, no, I get it.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to
Yep.
put it in a box.
But as Mary said, that there's 2 buses now that are deteriorating very quickly, and she doesn't think they'll make it to the 24-25 school year.
Bondo, I get it.
Mary, how many buses, how many vans do we have similar vehicles?
Then the ones that we would like to
No, we
order.
currently are using.
We have 8, we have 9 vans right now.
Okay, so I'm assuming that if this goes through, you're gonna replace the worst ones, right? The worst 2, or?
We would like to replace them, but my thoughts are that we keep them as long as we can because they're not readily available. So the ones that are, I mean, we're using them, so we wouldn't use them as much. We have this new company that stopped by that said that they would buy it, so it wouldn't be something we wouldn't trade them in. So we would sell them outright, get some extra cash for them.
Or keep them for parts.
Or keep them for parts.
Well, or ideally to spread out the mileage on even more vehicles, right, for a while. I
Yeah.
understand. So if they're having a difficulty to get these vehicles now, and you've had conversations with the industry, what is the plan?
They have no plan for the future.
They have no plan.
They
But aren't
don't.
they in the bus business?
They are, but they are also getting their chassis from GM and Ford and Chevy, and whatever their future is not something that
They
that
don't know
they're
what's going
predicting.
on.
They have no clue. And plus, you gotta remember, electric buses are starting to come in, so now what I like to call cut and paste, they're taking a lot, some of these newer, older vans, and down the line, I mean, it's in the talks that they're going to start taking those things out and putting those electric things in, and so, I mean, I don't know how that's going to work out.
Slightly off topic, but since we have you,
Okay.
and you have talked to these folks, right? What is their impression of the electric buses? Are they going for it? Do they assume it's gonna be standard?
They're not thinking that it's very practical, and the timeline for electric buses is, it's crazy. They're making it very difficult. So my personal opinion on when I speak to them, I believe that it will probably be crunched back a little bit, because school districts are not going to be able to, I mean, these buses are $425,000 a piece. If you don't receive grant money, if you don't receive funds from New York State, then what do you do? And we were not put on the list when Janet put in our application this time. And once they open up that session again to, reach out to schools and say, hey, you're gonna be able to apply again, hopefully we'll be on the list, but we may not be on the list again. There are many factors that they go by before they award things like that. And that's gonna be a huge cost to the district.
Yeah, I don't think the state has totally thought out the electric bus piece for schools, because infrastructure, we got a quote today, is about $2 million to put in all the chargers in, and that's just the chargers. That's not even putting in concrete to put the chargers in. And I don't think they've thought out the whole process. Also, if there's a sports trip from far away, our bus can get there, but it has to recharge up there somehow and then come back down. I don't think they thought about the whole consequence yet. And I think the bus companies are holding back on their fuel buses because they don't want to be stuck with fuel buses if they have to do the electric buses.
Back to this, Tracy. This is in discussion, but Mike and Jen, are we looking to decide today?
Yeah, I think it would be helpful given what we've been told from the bus companies to get our letter in to purchase them, so that we can have those held for us, that we can move forward on it, and as Eric said, move up our purchasing from 2 years out to this upcoming year for 2 of the 3 buses that we would have, or vans that we would have purchased.
I'm at the point where, given all what Mary's told us, I'm assuming it's correct, and if Janice says that looking forward in next year's budget, we can allow for this, then it seems like we need to do it.
Was that a motion? Because I'll give you a second.
I hate spending money, so I'm not moving.
So I got an estimate of the amortization schedule. So for the 23-24 school year, it's an additional $38,810 to debt service, where we had that negative amount when you saw it up there at the Capitol. So it's...
Yeah, but to Dave's point, it's still spending money.
Yes, it is.
I'm just looking at it as I'm moving it from my right pocket to my left pocket right now.
Yeah, I agree with Dave and Eric. But it seems like something that's necessary, so I'll make the motion.
You'll make a motion to do what? Fill it in the blank, please.
I'll make the motion to approve the letter of intent. And I assume, I don't know if we need to include the authorization for spending that too, or if that comes later.
We'll get the bond council going and I'll get all that information going. So probably at the February board meeting, you'll have to approve the bond words and stuff.
It'll be on May's vote?
Yes.
So in other words, the motion now is just to approve the letter of intent. The financial piece would come in February.
Yes.
Okay, so then I'll move to approve the letter of intent as it has been described.
I'll second that.
Any more discussion? Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary.
Buckle up, it's gonna get bumpy.
Can't drive a letter of 10.
Did you say buckle up?
Yeah, I did, I couldn't resist, I just could not resist. 7.4, student member to the Board of Ed. Mike.
All right. So, what I'm passing around to you is, we've discussed this for a while right now. Part of what we're looking to do is begin this. We'd like to get a potential student board member on, and we've laid out a plan working with Christy and Sierra in regards to the communication of this and getting the application of this. Given, if everyone's okay with getting this started, we can begin the process as soon as tomorrow to canvass our students and potentially have a student representative on in place for our February board meeting. And so let me walk you through what we're proposing right now. Is what you've got in front of you right now is part of the application process. And as we move forward and take a look at how we were looking to do it, getting Christy and Sarah to get it out on the bulletin, making an announcement tomorrow, as soon as tomorrow morning, to our students in regards to what this is going to look like, giving them access to the process, which will include begin promoting tomorrow, putting it out with an application deadline as of January 24th. January 26th and 27th, we will have our admin teacher panel reviews. February 3rd through 7th, we would have our high school student body vote via Google Form on a potential board, student board rep. And then on February 8th, announce the winner of that vote. And then hopefully by that point being able to have the student ready for our February 13th board meeting. We would canvass or send it out to our current seniors to apply and have the application from January 24th to January 24th at 11:59 p.m.
Mike, so would this student then be on the board then from, so let's say February then through June?
Through June. And what we would like to do is to be able to use this process this year to kind of work out the kinks, what worked well, what didn't work well, and then have a vote in June for the students for the following year, starting in September.
Okay.
Again, what we thought about was we don't want to have a student commit to summer meetings and having them, allow them to start in September for next year.
I have a comment.
Okay.
I just think it's important that the student isn't in 15 activities, that they really have the time to commit to this, because I know I could think of like 10 kids that would be like, yes, I want to do this, but they're also doing everything else. So I think that's important.
100% agree, and that was our conversation today. And we know those students. One of the things that we want to make sure as we go through this process, the application process, is once we get those folks, those students who are going to submit, that we have that conversation. And Christy, and again, that is a major point of emphasis. This isn't a regular committee. This isn't something that you're just padding your college application. We are really making sure that students understand the time commitment, that they understand that there is a responsibility as being a Board of Education member, even as a student rep, and we want to make sure that they're taking this serious. And we know that serving on district committees or even on building level committees, we will often have students sign up, and because they are involved with so many different things, are unable to attend. So again, that is certainly a major point that we made sure to talk about today in regards to, once we see what the applicant pool looks like, to make sure that they understand this is different. This is different than some of the committees that maybe they've sat on before. There's a lot of responsibility that goes with this. And I think we each came up with 3 or 4 names who, Angela, fit that profile where they're involved with absolutely everything, and which is great, but they're unable to give their all to all those things. So it's a great point.
I have a couple of questions. On the form here, it asks for, have you been in the district for the last 3 years? Yes or no? Can I ask what that's for?
Yeah, one of the things that we want to make sure that we understand is, the students who are been in the district have a sense of history to the district, have some involvement with, because again, they are going to be representing students across the district, so they've been, at least through the high school, have a shared experience. And someone coming in year 1 with really not a lot of background, we wanted to make sure that we had students who had put in the time and been part of the Greenville school community.
Okay, so if they say no, then they're excluded.
Correct.
Are these students, I don't recall, but I know that from a board member perspective, I cannot serve on a board if my family member is already serving on a board. And you can't be an employee of the school district and serve on a board. Are the students going to behave under those same guidelines so that the student of a board member's child is not going to be on the board, and if it's an employee of the school district, they won't be on the board?
I will tell you that if a student is employed by the school district, that's a great question. I don't know. I don't know what the legality of a student board member would be under that scenario. So I will have to, before we get that out there, make sure they have to go by the same rules as our elected board members who are officially on that board.
Just to be clear, last question, that was, if a student has a family member who's employed by the district, the question is, can they or can they not serve on the board, right? We're serving this position.
I don't know about family members. I mean, you can have somebody who's working in the district and still be a board member. You just can't be an employee and a board member.
Correct. Okay.
And the family members can live in separate households, like, so if your brother, say, wanted to run for the
Correct.
board, then
It's
they
the
could do
same
that.
household.
Different address, yes.
I have one question. One is, put a lot into this, should we also, when we're doing the selection process, select an alternate just in case? Say for instance, they change or they move or they, at least we have somebody in the pipeline that we can ask. And then the other thing would be, I agree with you to have some history, but the 3 years, would that minimize maybe 2 years? Would that be enough? Or, 3 years meaning they had to be here 9th, 10th, and 11th, right? Their whole high school experience is here. But I agree with you to have the history. I was just wondering on the 3, why 3, not 2?
If the board would like to reduce that number, now's the time to talk about that. I'm not married to anything. That was just a thought going into it. In regards to having an alternate, I don't know how I feel about that, as we don't have alternates for our Board of Education as it currently stands. Again, I think having an alternate could potentially allow a person not to serve in full capacity if they know that another student is going to step in for them. So yeah, the 3 years, 2 years, if the board feels strongly that it's got to be less than 3 years, again,
Well, I think that I like the idea of 2 years as opposed to 3 years, because the 3 years could preclude someone who comes into the district. And if we're trying to be inclusive, then, but I do understand balancing the need with someone who then, who knows the students. So maybe to achieves both objectives.
So am I hearing 2 years?
I was just curious as to what the result was for the question, 2 years, 3 years, whatever your choice. It's fine by me.
And I'm fine with the 3 years. I guess if we're limiting ourselves to the amount of the pool of people, maybe that's one reason, but I definitely agree to having the history. I didn't know if it would limit the pool of people to volunteer.
What if it's we would prefer 3 years, but if you've only been here for 1 and you've made friends with every single student, then we'll still give you a chance.
We could change that to preferred 3 years.
Yeah.
Any other questions? I will get clarification from legal as far as those questions around employed by the school district or family member living in the same house on the board currently.
Right.
I have one more question. I apologize if I didn't hear at the beginning. At the bottom of page 1, it says that the email should be email resume to the HR representative. Who's the HR representative?
So what we're going to end up doing was having them upload that into a Google Doc, and then we'll have that access to that through Aaron, Sierra, and myself.
So that language would change?
Yes, we can do that.
Well, I think it depends. I mean, if they're just uploading it, do they have to email anything to an HR representative? I think the question really is, HR representative to me sounds, I mean, 1, it doesn't tell you who it is. And 2, for a student, I don't know why they talk to like someone in HR.
Yeah, that's a really good point. We can change that language to make sure it doesn't confuse who it's going to. That makes sense.
All right, Mike, since you're on a roll, now I'm going to let you talk about the Greene County School Board meeting on January 30th.
All right, this will be a quick one. No new news. I did get an email from Randy Squires over at Coxsackie Athens, who put this initially out to Greene County superintendents. I had inquired after our last board meeting and just got word that yes, he is still planning 6 to 8 on January 30th. There was going to be a meeting set up this week with the superintendents to discuss location and potential topics. I have not heard anything from Randy for a meeting this week, but I would suggest that if you have topics that you are feeling that from a county's perspective we would like to get more of conversation around, please let me know, please let Tracy know, either tonight or via email, so that we can add those to potential discussion topics.
All right, next on the discussion is a fire and EMT tax exemption.
All right, so this came across just like a week or so ago from our attorneys, that we are in a position now, the governor has signed into law a municipalities and spur a tax break to residents who are members of the EMT or volunteer firefighters. There are some limitations, or there is some leeway in how much a Board of Education, if they decide to adopt this, how high they can go as far as what the tax exemption could look like. It caps out at 10%. We have the leeway to go anywhere below that, up to that number. We also have the opportunity to put some parameters on how long someone must be serving in that role as an EMT or a firefighter, anywhere between 2 to 5 years. Nothing we have to act on right now, but it is something that, and I can forward you the legal document that Jeff Honeywell has sent out to all his clients in regards to this, but it will, I'm sure, gather interest, much like some of our past tax breaks around veterans. Not sure what the municipalities are doing at this point. I think they're kind of going through this process as well as figuring out, you know, how to put the script together. So, Janet?
So I reached out to Greene County, and the Greene County, they opted to not take action on passing this local law. So just letting you know what the Greene County is doing. So we're just leaving it.
This is brand new to me as far as, is the state paying for this?
The state just came out with it in the middle of December.
So if we put this in place, the state's going to give us money?
No,
All right, so the state is not paying for it?
no.
All right.
It's like the veterans exemption.
Right.
Like I said, I will forward you the document. You can mull over it and talk about at a future date where we want to go with this.
If I have questions, Mike, do you want me to send you an email, or would you like me to give you questions?
You can give me questions. I hope I have answers.
The document that you're referring to, is that the one you emailed to us in your update?
I think it is from Honeywell's.
Yeah, there's some, my question on that is, the language there talks about up to a 10% assessed value. That is very ambiguous, because you could have a firehouse where you have personnel that live in multiple different school districts. So the assessed value, the exemption would not be applied, for lack of a better term, fairly across that firehouse. And then, and that would work in another fashion, because say you had Earlton. Earlton is practically right on our border as far as we go in that direction. I'm sure we would have taxpayers that are members of that firehouse, and I'm sure there are members of that firehouse that live in Coxsackie or would live in the Coxsackie School District, or quite possibly even Carroll School District. If those two school districts decide not to exempt, and we did, it's applied unfairly across the, so again, this is another thing that's thought of by the state that is got holes all over it.
Sounds like a topic for a Greene County Board of Education meeting.
Might be.
Any other questions related to that topic?
I had one. So it's any government, any governing agency, it could be a town, it could be a school, correct? So we could do, let's just say, a 3%, and then the town could also do 3%, so they're getting two ends of the exemption on their taxes, correct? Okay.
All right, so moving us along to the pilot contribution status. This is something, Dave, that you had asked for some information on.
Yeah, so I think, Dave, maybe 2 or 3 meetings ago, you had asked about solar panel or solar pilot monies and where that's going and some of the, how that's been spent out. So given Janet's meticulous record keeping and looking back at some of the work that and things that have been paid for, put together this spreadsheet to kind of show you where that money's been going. Went through a process with Tammy and Todd in regards to folks having the opportunity to apply and put in for monies to be used. What you're seeing right now is an abridged version. It doesn't have all the narrative of what the teachers were putting in, how many students were going to affect, and those types of things. So this was just that information that you would look for, so I want to make sure you got that.
Janet, is that a running total on the bottom?
So all the money has been spent out. The 100,409 that went towards the 100,500 to the capital reserve.
I thought we were only, in that particular portion of that pilot, I thought we only got 75,000.
For the pilot money, we received 275,000.
Okay, very good.
But 104 of it went towards that capital reserve amount that we did at the end of the school year.
Practice milking a cow, Jim. Or
That's
I
right.
can show you how.
Another bird to go. Thank you.
So is there a total for everything on?
So the total is all the way up on top. It says total $275,000.
Got it.
So if you run a total of the actual costs, that's equals.
Thank you. Any other questions related to the pilot? Then I'm going to move us on to the trap shooting club update.
Talking a lot tonight, Tracy.
I know, go for it.
So, a couple of things. First of all, in order for us to get to, I know that I have said in the past that the Board of Education doesn't necessarily vote on clubs. I have been standing corrected. As part of the contract, there would be an MOU, whether it's funded or not funded. So we will, at some point, have to put together an MOU for the TRAP program TRAP club to exist, even if it's not funded. We have started to look at this as a potential opportunity for students in the spring. I know that Sarah Statham had put out a letter to the Board of Education. She has been a champion for this. Last spring, I believe, we had a student come in and talk about the trap shooting as a club for the school. It is, if you watch News Channel 13, they featured a student from Lansingburg as their student of the week for the work that they're doing in the trap shooting club there. So what I wanted to do was, there is really two things. One was putting together an MOU if the board is okay with it. We'll put it together and have the board vote on that. The other piece is that there has originally was not asked for any financial commitment from the school district in order to support the trap shooting club. Sarah has, for the club, has gone out and been able to secure through the Greenville Educational Foundation a storage unit. Through research, we have found that other districts have used some of the federal funds as a way to pay for some guns and some ammunition. but this is something that I would not bring to the board, or would bring to the board for this group to discuss and to make a decision on, do we want to use some of the monies for the purchase of some guns for the club. I'd love to get some feedback on that.
Can you remind me of the amount that she was asking for? I forgot. I know it was in the letter.
Yeah, it was like $7,500. And it would come out of an enrichment part of the funds that we currently do have available. I don't know if I've ever seen the board this quiet.
I know, really.
Well, let me ask this. I think that the request was for, how many guns was it for? Let me start there.
I believe it was 5 initially.
Do we need to go up to 5? I don't know. I'm kind of mixed on this one. Yeah, I'm mixed.
Go ahead, Jay.
Thanks. Comment and a question. The comment is, I don't think I can give feedback on my question tonight. I'd want to think about that. The question is, you mentioned a storage unit. Could you talk about what the unit would be, where it is, how it would be accessed?
It would be left at the club and would be accessed only by our club advisor.
So the club being, that's some third party, like sports club, or
Correct.
rugby club, or whatever.
Yep, yep.
Mike, I have some questions about, general questions. I'm trying to figure out what we have currently in the form of a club that would fall into this kind of category where it's kind of attached to us, but we're keeping it off to the side. So if you can educate me about a similar club. The other question I have is about the gun safe and about potential shotguns we would buy as ownership. I think I asked about the gun safe a meeting or two ago, and the answer was the club would own it. I don't quite get that. What happens to it if it dissolves? And then you had just mentioned, and again, I initially am in full support of this. I am a little hesitant because of the initial presentation was that it would need no support. And then as a gun owner and a gun user myself, I'm not sure that we want to start this organization. And I understand Sarah's point with being equitable and being at the same level of other schools, but you know, if you go to a baseball game and someone buys a $1,500 bat, that doesn't mean they're going to hit the baseball. Probably may never hit it, no matter what you spend. And I'm not sure that we buy bats and helmets or would the kids even buy the bats or use the bats and helmets that we purchase anymore. So my concern was that the presentation was we're going to get this softly started, give the kids an opportunity to enter into this, but it would be on them. And then this came up with Sarah's letter, and I hate to reference something that no one can read, but my thought on that was that if the athletes that are gonna participate in this, they should own their own device, their own gun. I don't think I would borrow someone's, but I can understand that if I didn't have one and I wanted to participate in this, then somehow I gotta obtain one. So those are some, I could see going this route when the club has got some success, but I see investing this kind of money in something that you just mentioned doesn't really exist yet until we vote to approve the club. Those are just my thoughts, but I am 100% behind developing this for the students to take part in, but a little concerned about some parts of it.
You had asked the question if there was any clubs that are currently running that are like this. The obvious, I think, answer to that is there's nothing that is really a parallel. The only thing I can think of from a sports standpoint is golf. You know, we send kids off to a country club to golf. They bring their own equipment, do their own thing there. But it doesn't have a parallel with a current standing.
That's a sport. Is that a club, or is it just called the club because it's, you know, that's a team we have, right?
Oh, golf, exactly. That, and again, that's the only thing that I can.
And the robotics club, that's funded through us, right? And that takes place here, and we have advisors that are compensated.
For that, as a den mom of the robotics, I can share that it took about 5 years to build up the materials necessary. So every year, items were added, they were donated by parents, grants were requested, and it took about 5 years to really get a healthy supply. But when we started with a basic kit that someone donated.
I have a question. I'm a supporter of the system. I have been lucky to communicate in the stands with a couple of representatives from other schools and they have given me nothing but positive feedback in terms of building self-esteem and self-discipline, that the boys and girls involved both shined in this program. I believe there is going to be a cost, but I think in order for everyone to be involved, I think we have to look to invest in a few guns, because the reality is there's going to be families that can't afford to have their own. So, and where's that come from? Then they would have to use what was available at the school. And I'm sure we're going to have to cross some bridges as far as when you travel to another site, then how do these guns get transported? How are the, I don't know the legalities on our school buses and that kind of stuff, or if they're going to be traveled on personal vehicles, I'm not sure. But that would be something we'd have to cross that bridge when, just as other clubs have happened. But I think as we move forward, I was made aware that Greenville does have quite a bit of interest in this club. So when it does happen, I'm told that there are quite a bit of young men and women that would like to participate. And so I'm for moving forward, like Dave says. I'm just concerned on how we're doing it. with the storage at the remote locations. It's okay to put a building, that's a cost, but I'm sure we'll have insurance in that area that we will have to, so that will be a cost, and we have to find out what all the small costs are, and they will add up.
Maybe there's a way to look at it almost over a 3-year period, kind of to your point, Dave, that year 1 what's needed, year 2 what's needed, year 3, that could kind of build up to it so that they could grow the interest and so forth.
I just want to make sure when the clubs compete against each other, they are not going to different sites. It's all electronic and they do it at the one location. So the guns would be secured there or brought in by the families. No school transportation would be used for that, transporting guns.
That's good to know, thanks.
This is just a discussion, right?
Correct.
I'll listen.
All right, so I'm going to move us on to some of the reminders. We have several upcoming events. We have the development workshop that on January 21st from 9 to noon. We have the Greene County School Board's meeting on the 30th from 6 to 8. We have the public hearing for senior citizens and disabled tax exemption, the next board meeting on February 13th, next monthly board meeting. And then we have the annual meeting of the Board of Cooperative Educational Services, Seoul Supervisory District of Rensselaer, Columbia, and Greene Counties on April 25th. This is BOCES, correct?
Correct.
Thank you. Translation. And that's on April 25th. So if you just mark your calendars accordingly. Those are just some of the key reminders. So now I get to turn it back over to everyone. Is there anything that you would like to input for the next meeting or next future meetings? And I'll jump at once. Okay, if anyone has anything, then email us. So the closing open forum, please note the same guidelines applies as stated during the first open forum. Is there anyone that would like to speak? Do we have any emails? No? Okay. Then I need a motion to adjourn to executive session to discuss the school safety plan. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, everyone.